Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint.com is now TradingCardMint.com. Please check out their selection of over 20,000 cards with prices cheaper than TCG Player.
Hello there. We're going to be talking about some premium Shadow Paladin, and I will tell you we will have standard after this. I'm in love with the standard deck. I got a lot of old-time feels here. So we're going to be looking at the list from this previous weekend that actually ended up doing relatively well at, what was it, Malaysia? I was very happy to see that Shadow ended up winning the event. WGP had, what was it, 5 DI, and that's insane. Like, you guys thought OTT Gize was a pain, like, whew. The deck did not make top. Like, 5 DI, 1 D Police, or something random, and then there was Luard. And Luard won it all. And this deck is geared towards beating the Dark Irregular Loop. Now, here in the States where you're playing against probably Gize and other decks, like, you are going to have to make sacrifices and adjust things for those matchups. I think a little bit more than people think. So before we get into the deck profile, please check out our friends at TradingCardMint.com down below in the description. Enter MCO40, save you guys yourselves a little bit of money. And of course, credit for this list goes out to, well, the original pilot. So we're just doing this as like a little deck check kind of thing. Talk about a few things. We do a lot of hefty net decking. I think a lot of people have to understand that, like, you start with a deck base that succeeded. You start making tweaks to those deck bases for your own iteration and testing to see if you like something. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the attention span to go through and learn everything, but eventually we'll be able to learn and adapt to your own creations. So, 4 copies Lord. We no longer play the other Luard. I think it was just random lists that were playing it, but this is one of the best options any deck has. I'm pretty sure when Gear Chronicle gets their additional support in the future, they will get much better things. But just what this card does for this deck, striding for absolutely, literally no cost with a built-in ultimate stride, like, what is going on? Like, I didn't actually, I agree with everybody else, like, nobody thought Luard was going to be, like, the relevant deck of the era. And here we are. We've done it. He survived the test of time. So I got to give it to Luardo. He survived. And I think he's going to probably, one card, anythings are good. It doesn't even matter if he's got, like, the weaker base, because at the end of the day, when you're pressuring your opponent, it's too good. Now, we are playing 4 copies of Blaster Dark. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The fact that this card can turn the tide of any game. Twin Drive on grade 1, or at grade 2, is so dumb. Forces your opponent to commit. If your opponent's not playing starters that call out, you're going to be in a much better position. I think a lot of people need to understand that early game pressure is something that this deck needed. And that's what this card gives to this deck. That aggro push to be able to punish your opponent for even overextending just to not get Twin Drive. Cool, I'll take it. Like, so good. 4 copies of Death. Now, people need to understand that Death is what wins you games. Ripping a stand trigger on this makes me cry myself to sleep every single time. You won't believe the amount of times that you will just lose games to Death because, well, Dagda is Dagda. Now, this list was playing 3 copies of Slaptail. You also have to remember, being able to do the Simul Call for the additional power-ups is really good. And this deck does take a little bit more advantage of that. Like I said, you do need to make sure that, look at him, he's so cute. Powering up those columns becomes massively abusable to you. I think 2s are correct too, but it's kind of weird. Now, this build was playing 1 copy of Maka. I think a lot of people are going to find this strange, but Maka is just Counterblast 1, call a grade 1 or less from your hand to rearguard to draw a card, and this gets 5k. So this becomes 15k. And if you were already running low on resources, you'd be able to call Balala that you were already going to probably call, give this additional power, and draw a card. I know a lot of the Counterblast 1 resources a lot of people might not like, but hey, it's an additional 10k base. It's Vanguard, Rearguard, so if you're going to plan on calling something on your turn anyway, why not just call it off of this, draw the additional card? It's a very good alternate to not having the Blaster Dark to maintain that 10k base. I actually kind of like that. 4 copies of this pain in my ass. This card is so good. The fact that, I don't know, this card just wins so many games. Like, I really want to learn how to play this deck, but I don't know. Shadow only in another era. 4 copies of Drag Saber Azeroth. You can't get these cards from another time are just too good. Now this build is playing 4 copies of Nemain. I'm going to be honest with you. We were a little bit hesitant to want to play this, but being able to call out anything with 5k from your deck is pretty good. You call all copies of these. Oh my god, your Ogma turn just turns so beautiful. Like, it's so free. Like, also 10k shield if you need it. Now one ofs. A lot of people are going to find this weird. So 1 copy of the Soul Blast, draw a card. 1 copy of the Abyssal Owl for the countercharging. 1 copy of Javelin for draw power. 1 copy of Karen for countercharging. And 1 copy of I don't like my opponent killing me. So this is the big one. We've gone back to this guy. So all rear guards cannot attack the Vanguard in the 5th or more battle this turn unless counterblast 1 is paid. And when the unit is placed on rear guard, choose a face-up card in your damage zone and turn it face down. If you don't have a damage, you don't have to fulfill that effect. I don't know how many people kind of forget that, but this is like the new alternative to beating the meta. Like, sometimes you have to make bad calls. Hanali is one of those. Starter for this deck was 1 full bow. Honestly, we don't really miss Vikru. That additional resource to kind of turbo and make sure that you get to Luard was kind of important. Like, countercharging is important, but as long as you manage your resources, ITT Karen, you should be fine. Now this deck plays 3 copies of Owl. Honestly, this is one of the more important things that people need to understand. You can go between 3 to 4 Owl, but it's still good. And then 8 crit in total, just to make sure that you can do the shenanigans that you need to shenanigan with. And then 4 copies of Raven and a 2-2 split on heals. Early game aggro kind of dictates that you want these just to have higher shield value. And then of course Cursed Eye Raven, like, hello? Tutoring for 2 cards for no reason at GB1. Like, this card is broken and needs to be restricted at some point. I can't believe they actually made this. Like, the reason why Shadow Paladin's still doing good is because just shove a stack trigger or stand trigger back in the deck. I understand why they did not want stand triggers in premium. Like, they're so sacky. Now, your first basic good strat is this guy if you need. There's alternatives to this, but this is one of the places you'll find yourself going. Now, I've seen a lot of people going towards this, and I don't know how I feel about this. The last Shadow Paladin list from Texas I saw was also playing this. For those of you that don't know, so it's choose a face down card with the same name as unit, turn it face up. So when a Sentinel or G unit or G Guardian is placed on your opponent's Guardian Circle, or when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, you may pay this cost if you do. Search your deck for the same number of grade 1 or less cards as the number of face-up cards in your G zone, and call them. So you can get the later game rush. This also isn't restricted to once per turn, so whenever your opponent places a Sentinel or something like that, you just use this to create this massive shitstorm of aggro. And considering the amount of resources you have, like, it's so good. Literally, also the fact that this doesn't cost a counterblast. Like, it was a matter of time until Helium got broken, and oh my god, it's so good. Now this was the other one I was talking about. So for those of you that don't know about Ogma, it's a counterblast 1, soul blast 1. And it's Ritual 5. Choose face down card from G zone, flip it face up, choose 5 of your grade 1 rear guards, and fry them. If you do, retire by this effect, your opponent chooses cards from his or her hand or rear guards and puts them into the drop zone. If the total is 3 or more cards put into the drop zone by both fires with this effect, you draw 1 card. So you do get a free draw. You also get to ping OTD Gizeh for 5 cards for no reason. We have 2 copies of Diablo, because we like closing the game against the menace known as OTD Gizeh. 1 copy of Ultima, and then standard lineup of G Guardians, 1 flipper, 1 of this, 1 of her, and 2 plot makers. wrapping up this list. I will say, I'm more impressed with this list because of ratios and honestly how it's performed to date so far. Like, it's a lot techier, and I like that. I like my toolbox decks, so a lot more than I should. So guys, please check out our friends at tradingcardmint.com down below in the description. Enter MCO40 on checkout. Save a little bit of money, and guys, I'm out. Peace.